yourself in and get ready. The leaders in NBL Supercoach are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Hello and welcome to the Inside NBL Show. It feels like Christmas Eve. We are one sleep away from the start of the NBL Supercoach season and the NBL season. As always, we're brought here today by the Standard Squeeze, Ryan from Astute Newstead, and our new sponsors, Game Day Squad. I'm the Supercoach Matrix, and I am here with Hammer. I tell you what, I'm excited, as you can see by my hat.
It's a real party in here. It really does feel like Christmas Eve, and I'm like a kid who can't sleep. And I wish it was only because of excitement and not because of a toddler that won't sleep. But look, tomorrow's it. We've got less than 24 hours to get our squads finalised. We've got some work to do tonight.
Yeah, and get your questions into the chat. We'll try get through as many as we can. Look, we have put our final teams up on our Patreon, so get across there if you would like to have, I suppose, a sneaky little look at that.
Want to take your Supercoach game to the next level? Insight Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as weekly expert Q&As, team, trade, and captaincy advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
And look, I'm excited. We've been getting amongst it on there. But on today's show, we're going to go through the crystal ball predictions. We're going to go through a matchups preview of round one. We're going to go through the most owned in the competition and give them thumbs up and give them thumbs down. We're going to have a bit of a chat about our community team. Of course, we're going to dive in as to who we think are going to be the best captains this week. And we're going to go into a Q&A, mate.
It's packed. Should we probably get into it?
Yeah, exactly. Look, crystal ball predictions, mate. Oh, you've brought this one up. Let us know what's going to happen in this one.
Yeah, look, looking into our crystal ball, we feel like we're omniscient, all-seeing. All right, coming into the start of the season, we've got a lot of predictions floating around. We're hoping they come true. Well, I'm pretty keen to see what your thoughts are. We've got a few categories we brought up for this one. Probably the first one. Who do you think, when it's all said and done at the end of this Supercoach season, is going to be our highest scoring Supercoach player?
I actually think it's going to be Kendrick Davis. A little spicy. Has a lot of Bryce Cotton about him. But Kendrick Davis doesn't have as good of a team around him. When his team is firing around him, he's going to get a lot of assists. And we've had these chats, I suppose over the last year and one episode about how the Supercoach scoring, as opposed to the NBL fantasy that it's been for years, favors the guards. I just wonder whether Bryce Cotton at his age might start to slow down, whether, he might start to hand over to some of the other guys. But if Kendrick Davis plays in a short rotation, I could really see him just scoring tons and tons of points.
Yeah, I like it. I think the obvious one to go here is Bryce Cotton. He's done it before so many times, and that's why he's the highest priced player in the competition. However, today, John Rillie has just been announced as signing a 3-year contract extension. So maybe he's not so desperate anymore and will actually let Bryce Cotton play less than 40 minutes a game. Look, it's a talented squad around. There's other guys there. I feel like maybe they're not going to be so reliant on Cotton so early on in the season too. Maybe they will get some rest because he started to get tired legs towards the playoffs. So, look, while Cotton would be the easy one to say, I think Kendrick Davis is out there. I'm going to throw a smoky in here. I'm going to go Darius Days.
You're right.
I think he's got some sneaky Supercoach game about him, and the opportunities there, which is one of the biggest things we look at. Look, Kendrick Davis, Bryce Cotton are going to be right up there, but I'm going to throw a Smokey in there.
Look, man, I really like it. I think a lot of people will hope that you're wrong, considering how well owned blokes like Lockie Ulbrich is. How we're kind of hoping. I know I'm personally hoping at his price, Tyler Harvey gets a fair bit of a run this year. I think the fits maybe a bit better beside Trey Kell this year. So I, for Supercoach, hope that you are really wrong and we get an absolute gun in Lockie Ulbrich. So
why not both? Still gazing at our crystal ball. Biggest cash cow. NBL 25.
This might be cheating, but I actually think Tyrell Harrison. I think that he could be a 400k player at some stage throughout the year. I think Rocco is a 12 minutes per game guy. I do expect them to give him more run, but as Brisbane looks to build forward, Rocco will be a guy that will go to the NBA at some stage. So Tyrell Harrison is the future. Brisbane are going to need... I don't know how good their guards are. I don't know how good the rest of the squad is around him. I think Bannon will be really good, but I think Bannon's sort of one of those guys that won't get in Harrison's way. I think there'll be a lot of shots fired. There'll be a lot of rebounds from Harrison. And Harrison has been absolutely dominating in the New Zealand NBL and in the preseason.
I thought long and hard about Harrison, and it's how high that ceiling is, isn't it? Like right now he's about, 230, 240k player.
Yep.
I see him going up 100 grand, being a 350 max. I feel like there's going to be foul trouble. I feel like there's going to be certain matchups. And look, you're right about Rocco, and maybe like every other next star, they put the Q in the rack halfway through the season and put him on ice. But yeah, I'm looking at some cheaper guys. I think there's just so much more room. So I'm thinking someone like a Will Hickey here. Dave O'Hickey, he's only 100k. So for him to be a 200k player, it is pretty much the same price rise for a Terrell Harrison to go from that sort of 230 to 330, 350 mark. So I see that as probably just as realistic, just as probably going to happen. So I'm going to go with Dave O'Hickey on this one, just because I think it's going to be a lot easier to go from 100k to 200k than from 250 to 350.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, man. Dave O'Hickey, really excited about his pathway, and only one injury away, I would say, from having the chance to even go as high as 240.
Yeah, and you look at his matchup this week. The Hawks go and play the Taipans. The Taipans are out without Armstrong. They're without their second string point guard McCoy. They're without their third string point guard Kyle Adnam. They're in all kinds of trouble. Like I see the guards just blowing this out up in Cairns, and you're going to have guys like Hickey playing extended minutes, perhaps. So there's going to be certain times where he can just run that score up, and I'm going to see a lot of cash production, I reckon.
Yeah. What's your next one, mate? You answer this one first.
Biggest piece of fool's gold. Look, we've covered this one extensively. I'm just saying it's X. It's Xavier Cooks. That price of $365,000 with a break even already of 30 on such a stacked squad, I just don't really see it happening. You see the matchup this week already. They're playing Adelaide. How's he match up against Montrezl Harrell and against Isaac Humphries? You can say they're going to play some small ball five, but X can't hit a shot outside the paint. I see that matchup as more favourable for Cam Oliver, who can come out and stretch it and who has been absolutely stroking it from the three-point line. I think there's going to be matchups and games where X is going to struggle. I think he's overpriced.
Yeah, I think he is as well. I'm going to go with somebody in Melbourne. Again, there's a little bit of a theme here about stacked teams, and I'm actually going to pencil it into two guys, and it's two aging guys that have been stalwarts of Australian basketball, and it's Chris Goulding and Delhi. Especially Chris Goulding. He's never really been a fantastic fantasy, whether it be regardless of whatever format player, due to the fact that he's so streaky. Now, if you find yourself with a trade and you are down, say, 50 points to win your cash league, Chris Goulding is a guy that you can add and might absolutely light it up. But let me tell you that there is as big of a chance of him scoring 40 as there is him scoring 4 when it comes to Supercoach. When his shot's not dropping, he's not going to be playing. Chris Goulding is actually getting a lot older too, despite looking quite youthful. He's 36 years old, so you know what? Father time is coming for him. I know I step out on the floor at 33 or 34 or whatever I am, and the old bones creak. And
That's how old you are. I would have said
Yeah.
45 the way you play.
yeah, true. And especially the way the young people call me old. But look, Chris Goulding is 11% owned, and it's buyers beware for me.
Yeah.
Not that Delhi is that highly owned, but Delhi is 311k, and despite the great early schedule, I'm expecting Shea Illy to take
Yeah.
a lot of those assists. Delhi's been putrid in the preseason with some fouls and some turnovers and a lot of that. I just think we need to stay away from Delhi. And maybe it's just he just come back from an Olympic campaign and he does not give a fuck about blitz. Because if I was him, I probably wouldn't either. He could prove me wrong, but I still don't think he's going to be worth 310k at the end of the day.
Yeah, look, that's inflated. We have to remember towards the end of last season, Delhi had a run with Illy out with concussion for quite a while, and it all ran through him. It's a bit of an inflated price, I reckon, to start with, even despite the decline we're probably predicting. Hey, last little bit of the crystal ball. It's starting to get a bit foggy and hazy in this little sphere in front of me. First import to be sent home.
Freddie Gillespie.
I don't think I was going anywhere else with that one either.
I would have loved to come up with something different to you, but I know you're quite passionate about Freddie Gillespie. I could actually see this whole New Zealand team imploding and Parker Jackson Cartwright just leaving as well. Like, I just don't like the team that New Zealand's built.
All right, I'll go somewhere else with it then. I'm going to go with either. Actually, there's probably 3. I think they're probably in the mix, and that would be someone from Brisbane, whether that's Keandre Cook or Casey Prather. Craig Sword in Tassie. Breaking news also out with concussion, along with a Sean McDonald who's not playing for the foreseeable future. Tassie are in all kinds of trouble. And probably the other one might be, this is probably a little different, Jarrell Martin.
Yep.
If he doesn't get healthy, maybe they just cut their losses.
He might never play. But yeah, I'm not going to say that Montrez is going to get sent home after 4 weeks if Jarrell comes back when that's legit till his contract is ending too. But there is a world where they can actually keep both of them if they see a way that they can make that fit with their teams. So
they just have to release an unrestricted. Cool. Yep. Well, that's a crystal ball. This is probably something to revisit come the end of the season and see how on the money we actually were.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Really excited to head into the matchups. And today that's brought to you by our new sponsors, Game Day Squad. It's a new way to play fantasy basketball, a new way to play fantasy sports. You get in, you open some packs, and you get these cards, and you build your teams. So you have a Tyrell Harrison card. You can use him in the game, and there is a scoring system, and it's much the same as Supercoach, except you can win real money, you can win more packs, you can win more cards every single week. Basically, there is free formats. There's ways that you can buy cards and sell them in an online marketplace. But we're giving you nearly $20 worth of cards just to pop in, give it a try, and use code IFS15 to have a crack at that. I'm really excited for the boys to be on board, and I've been having to play with my team as well. Very Supercoach relevant and game day relevant, because you have a look at the matchups and they're exactly the same. So if you're a Supercoach head, it's good to have the opportunity to win money every single week.
100%. Just the cards gets me excited. I've still got a shoebox under the bed with the 1994 Fleer cards, the top 50 point club guys. Like, it's nostalgic.
Mate, that's it. That's how into cards I am. I'm sitting here with some footy cards sitting here at my desk. That's basketball cards over my left shoulder there. So yeah, I was excited when these guys come on. I'm going to be getting very involved in that. But as we talk about matchups is where we would usually focus on doubles,
Mhm.
and who's got the doubles and who we're playing. And this Hoops Fest, not only is it a fantastic initiative, it's great to get everybody in Perth. I tell you what, if I didn't have two kids, I'd be in Perth probably now. I'd be landing and I would be having an absolute ripping weekend. Big fan of
He's
Magic
drunk
Round when it
10
comes
men.
to NRL. Yeah, and it would be awesome. But what it does get is we don't have to be too stressed about double game weeks this week. Yes, we're looking towards the future to save some trades, and we're looking at who's got the double game weeks in week 2, week 3. But right now, we can just pick our best team as long as within reason.
Yeah, as long as you're not sort of hamstringing yourself for next week. But everyone on a single is essentially the same as everyone on a double, isn't it?
Yep.
There's no real advantage for anyone. But there's probably where we normally focus so much on who's got the doubles. We can actually look at individual matchups here, and there's some interesting developments, and we're looking at who some of the guys we're seeing pop up in a lot of the squads, who they're playing, and trying to make that decision between either picking this guy or that guy based on how they're going to perform. What are you seeing?
Well, the first game as we head into tomorrow night, and I love Thursday night basketball. I don't care what people say about, liking double game weeks and everything on a Friday. You'd be the same as me. You're probably putting a kid to bed if there's still a 6:30 game. So 8:30, I'm going to be sitting there, beer in my hand, absolutely pumped for a grand final matchup. But then I'm just going to be having a little bit of a look at the way that Tasmania has shaped out, and I understand why this is opening Hoops Fest. I understand why this matchup is opening the season, but Tasmania have been ripped to shreds in the off season.
Yeah, look, this game was promoted as the rematch of last year's grand final season, and as good as that was, and as close as it was going down to the wire. Let me just have a moment to think about Jack McVeigh's miracle shot. It's not going to be the same. Tassie have absolutely been decimated by injury.
Is that you punching the desk, the bottom of the desk?
Oh yeah, 100%. You took me from 6 to midnight recalling that one. Hey, look, Craig Sword out, Sean McDonald out. Never really filled that hole at the 4 spot that's left by Jack McVeigh. I don't know what's going on there. You look at Melbourne, we've got that interesting logjam of averageness at centre. We've got some guards that are very relevant. Melbourne's incredibly relevant with Jack White and going on to the next 2 weeks as doubles. There's going to be some storylines, but I'm expecting a blowout here, to be honest. And I have concerns with a guy like Jack White. I know some people are going to captain him. Do they put the cue in the rack at 3/4 time when they're up 40, play the kids?
I don't really know if it's a good look to do that in the first game of the season, and maybe they would be getting pressure not to. Tasmania aren't that bad. They've still got Crawford back. They've still got Doyle playing. Am I
Mm-hmm.
correct? And they've still got Willie Magnay. So you know what? If those three can keep it cooking, maybe they can keep it close and keep the guys out there. But I don't think they're going to be winning by 40. I
Mm-hmm.
just expect it to be finished
All right.
by 20. But yeah.
So looking at that Tassie squad, with all those guys out, where do we see the extra minutes going? Are we seeing 40 minutes of Milton Doyle? Are we seeing an Anthony Drimmick pop up? Is Clint
Yeah.
Steindl going to turn the clock back and show up? Or is it going somewhere else? Like, what do you see happening with the JJs?
Well, I actually see Drimich line up at the 3, which does throw a little bit of a spanner in the works for Supercoach. If the schedule allowed, he can still ball, he can still stand there in the corner, he can still defend. But I do expect like there to be three guys that take it by the balls, filling in with role players, and maybe Doyle has to be a guy that plays 36 minutes a night. Maybe
Yeah.
Crawford has to just keep shooting, regardless of if he's 0 and 12, because they have nobody else to go.
Yeah.
Maybe we finally see Magne play more than 22 and a half minutes.
Yeah. But that's the flag, though, isn't it? Those guys are already so expensive that you need to know. And we've seen it with Scott Roth before. He's not afraid to bench some studs if they're not on. I've had a look at two players. I had a look at Drimmick briefly. I didn't realize he was 190K. I was expecting to come around about 120. So he's probably a little bit priced out of what I was trying to use him for. And we know they don't have a price rise until after the 3 games. So they've got a bit of a wait for that. The other one, and this is one that gives me almost as much PTSD as Ben Henschel, is Ruben Tarangi. He's burnt me every single year that he comes with a promise of, going on from his rookie season in Brisbane half a decade ago. But I'm going to be watching carefully because if that's where the minutes go, and we know he's played a bit of time at the 4 spot, could be a watch and wait. But I just don't see any reason to really put any of them in round 1.
No, I can't see it. And regardless of 36 minutes, it's not a good matchup coming up against this Melbourne team. You start to have a look at the holes in Tasmania, and we're talking about the 3 and the 4. Who's going to take advantage from Melbourne? Is it Jack White, newly coming back into the lineup?
Look, I think Jack White goes big here as long as it stays close enough for him to warrant being on the court. You look at the 4 spot. From what we've seen so far, it's by committee. They've got a sort of a rotation sharing between Tarangi, Majok Deng, and a bit of Fabian Krislovic. None of them can even guard their own shadow. So I don't see them running with him. The 3 spot, look, who's going to go and guard that flamethrower coming off the bench for Melbourne United, Ian Clark? Who's going to go and guard Chris Goulding? Is it a case of we move Milton Doyle to the 3 spot and then we try and find someone to back up the 2? I don't see anyone waiting to do that. Or do you play Drimmick and Steindl some minutes at the 3? But Steindl's a bit of a liability on defense. Drimmick will give some guys a run for their money, but it's really 2 gaping holes in the 3 and the 4, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And Drimmick's not getting any younger either. So yeah, he was sort of popping down there basically to revive his career.
Yeah. We've talked about this a bit, but it is important because they play each other twice within the first 2 rounds. So if you are finding a matchup that's really favourable, if you're thinking Ian Clark is going to come and torch these guys, maybe he's a look. He's a little bit cheaper than some other options we've looked at, and he's got a really good schedule. And if you love the matchup, you're going to see it twice.
Yeah, back yourself. Let's go into Friday, 8:30. All at RAC Arena. Perth versus Southeast Melbourne. And mate, this could be the game of the round. I'm actually starting to think.
I think so. It has the potential to be anyway. It's some really top squads on both teams. Southeast Melbourne not quite as deep, but their starting 5 is pretty good, and both teams have shown throughout the Blitz they will just get it up. It's going to be a track meet.
Yeah, it is. Of course, all eyes will always be on Bryce Cotton every time he steps onto the floor. You've got Pinder there at centre, which is going to be making things hard at Southeast Melbourne. We've got a lot of imports I want to watch. In particular, Joey Wieskamp and Matt Hurt, just to see how they fit, because either one of those could be a real target for me in round 2.
Yeah. Look, interestingly, out of the Blitz, starting to look at the stats a bit more deeply, if you combine all the Supercoach points scored by all players on a team, gives you a total Supercoach score for the team. And you average it out across the Blitz, Perth and Southeast Melbourne had the 2 highest averages out of any team there. So Southeast Melbourne, 198 a game, 187 a game for Perth. Like, there's going to be some points scored, and Southeast Melbourne don't like to play defense, so could be a good game to look at some of these players if your squad permits, because I don't think anyone's going to be stopping anyone else in this one.
Yeah, true. I'm just going to be watching Almanza and Henschel as well on the bench for
Yeah,
Perth. Just like a highly commended, I suppose, in the chat. Like it's super exciting to talk about Bryce Cotton and Walton Jr. But we all don't have 350, 450k to buy
no,
players. Sometimes it's not what you spend; it's what you save. You can
I've
you can
missed
get it
that.
on our online store. Get it on a t-shirt. The links are below. But look, Ben Henschel, 69k, could prove to be an elite
Yeah,
cash cow there. I wasn't game enough to mention him when you said predict the biggest cash cow, just because of how much I know we both got burnt last year.
yeah,
But Almanza there, I think that he could be a guy that touches 200k as well this year.
yeah. Look, all reports out of Perth is that Almanza is going to be Alex Saar, but better. Probably more ready and probably the better fit within that team. I'm really keen to have a look. I didn't get a great look at him throughout the Blitz and the preseason games. Henschel, I've got him in my squad. I've done it. Really, really interesting in week one to see what the role is and if it's as big as we are expecting. I see him backing up Ty Webster. I don't love Ty Webster's game. And I feel maybe even if Ty Webster's the starter, I'm hoping he's only a 15 to 20 minute a game guy and they're going to split 20 to 25 minutes between the kids.
Um, Mate, that takes us through Thursday and Friday, and the 6 o'clock game in Saturday. New Zealand versus Brisbane. New Zealand. Big news out of that camp. Gillespie, the centre, is out,
Mm-hmm.
and look,
Suspended.
yeah, suspended for headbutting Sean Bruce. We've all wanted to do it, so I can't blame him
Yeah.
there.
He seems like a good guy, right?
Yeah,
Gillespie, that is.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, just doing it for all the people.
Community service.
I've actually played in a few NBA fantasy comps that has allowed for bonus points for things like getting ejected. So it changes the whole format where you try to draft the most aggressive players, which is actually really fun. So by all means, try that with your mates. But
Rasheed Wallace is going number one.
yeah, exactly. But I think this will be a good one for Brisbane, and you start to take out the centre
Yeah.
for New Zealand, and you start to look at maybe your Roccos, your Tyrell Harrison. You shouldn't own a New Zealand player in your
No.
team because you're just going to have to trade them out week 2, unless you really like the matchup. Because treat everybody as a double this week, but if you have a look
Rent
5
them up.
games in, you still don't get a price rise from New Zealand. And yeah, we want that cash, we want that paper.
Yeah, we get a good look at New Zealand before they become relevant, and they're going to have a really, really great schedule towards the back end when they return from the States. Yeah, this is one I got my eye on. We spruiked Tyrell Harrison the last couple of weeks. We're both really super high on the guy. Blitz MVP, awesome form, and he's playing against a team of dwarves. Like, they wouldn't even come up to his belly button. It's him and Rocco are the two tallest players in the league, I'm pretty sure. And they're going to have their way. I think even if New Zealand decide to go and play small ball, Brisbane are going to have to stick to the two bigs and say we're going to beat you at our game. Look, unless it's an absolute blowout, I see Harrison playing a lot of minutes here and doing some real damage. They're going to go to him early and often. So look, anyone who's holding Harrison, anyone who's holding Zakarsky on their bench, I think both are set for a good game here.
Yeah, no, I love that as well. And we're actually treated with 2 games on the Saturday, just in a 5-game week as well. And Cairns versus Illawarra.
Mm. I
Cairns,
got
I
this
have
from
more
Penn too.
questions. Cairns have more questions than answers, to be completely honest, when I have a look at their team. We did a whole preview show on Cairns, and it was honestly just centered around Taron Armstrong. And he's not playing. Like, to work out who's at guards, Jackson McCoy out with that DUI as well. I am excited to a certain degree about these 277k imports. I like the Woodman, Tanner Groves. I like Pedro Bradshaw, and I like Rob Edwards. Sorry, I just thought of a man chopping wood, and I just forgot his
Paul
name. I
Bunyan.
got lost in that red beard. But yeah, when it comes to Cairns, I don't want any of it.
Not right now. Cairns coming to a couple of doubles in a couple of weeks. They line up their schedule with Adelaide, and probably the one I've got my eye on the most is Tanner Groves. I feel like that forward centre eligibility, he's turned out to be a lot better than expected. He's got that sneaky assist game. Uh, Look, Armstrong and McCoy are the other two I'm looking at, but right now, with all 27 point guards injured, arrested, whatever the case may be, who's carrying the ball? Is someone popping up? Is it Jonah Antonio? Is it Dylan Stith?
I was This is probably a shameless plug, but I was opening some packs on game day today, and
Oh,
I
here we go.
got a nice little gold Jonah Antonio, and like my initial reaction was, "Oh no, when am I ever going to use this?" And then like you have a look at the
How?
Cairns roster, and you're like, "Well, there's no time like the present." Like, yeah, like he could be at 76K as well, like very close to bottom dollar. He could be an absolute rip snorting pick, but we get a couple weeks to look at him, and then by then, Taron Armstrong's probably back. So I don't think it ever becomes Supercoach relevant. It's just in
How
those day fantasy sports or the 1 week plays.
how close are they to calling up their assistant coach Kerry Williams and bringing him out of retirement? I mean, he
Probably
doesn't look
extremely close at
particularly
the
in
moment.
game shape, but
Look, there's a chance. I mean, if if Justin Tatum can just hit up his son during the off season, maybe he could come down and score more than the whole Cairns team as well. So
yeah, look, it really would have been a great situation if McCoy, decided to think twice before getting behind the wheel. Because at
oh,
58K and playing a good schedule, this would have been a lock for everyone's bench. But not to be. Look, the things I'm trying to take out of this game, I'm really, really keen to see Darius Days, and I think he's going to have a big one. Sam Wardenberg will not be able to guard Darius Days. Now, where Days differs from Gary Clark, both great players, but Clark was more of a 4 playing a small 5. Darius Days he's a 3-4. He is mobile, he's agile, he's gonna rip it off the rim, he rebounds well, he pushes it, he's on the perimeter. His game is so friendly to Supercoach, and I actually think they have to put someone like Pedro Bradshaw on him, and he's gonna be too big for him in the post and too quick for him outside.
yeah, which I suppose is exciting. I'm not sure I'll be making the jump to start off with, but he's somebody that come those double game weeks without those price rises. He's somebody
Mm,
that you could slot in extremely easy. I start to think of like a perfect pairing of somebody like Cam Oliver or somebody like that. Their doubles start to finish, or anyone from Southeast Melbourne, their doubles start to finish as Darius Day's doubles just start. I'm going to
yeah.
forego him to start off with, but he's somebody I've got my eyes on. Sam Froling has been an elite centre in this league. Um, Unfortunately, with Darius Days, I'm not as high on Lockie Ulbrich at 120K. I think there'll be
Mm.
enough minutes to get a price rise, though.
Look, I'm still high on Aldridge. I really see it as a 3-man rotation between the 4 and the 5 spot. You've got Darius Days and you've got Sam Froling probably starting. Aldridge can back up both of them. I feel like there's 80 minutes split between 3 guys. There's going to be minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
Actually, this Illawarra team's stacked, right?
yeah. Have a look at Harvey. Let's talk about him. We've touched on him a few times. I don't think we've really dug in deep enough. We've talked about how thin cans are in the guards. Tyler Harvey,
Yeah,
who's guarding this guy? This guy's going to run off 300 picks and shoot the ball the second he crosses half court. I think he's in for a big one here.
and he decided to stay, I suppose, got sort of stuck in this log jam with was it Patrick Robinson last year? And now
Justin Robinson.
Justin Robinson, yeah. So he got stuck in that timeshare with him. I'm a little concerned that the same thing's going to happen with Trey Kell, but
Yeah, see, I'm
Trey
not.
Kell, yeah, continue. Let
Well,
us
I
know.
think there's two different players. I think the problem with Robinson was they were the same player. They both wanted to score the rock. They just both wanted the ball in their hands. We've seen Trey Kell. He's a bit of a chameleon. He just pops up and becomes whatever he needs to be. We saw him in Southeast Melbourne. We've seen him in Adelaide under two different coaches and two different roles. I feel like he's going to come in here and he's going to be happy to move the ball around. He's not under the pressure to score the ball. He can. I I think he's just going to be what they need him to be. I think he's going to be a much better offsider than Justin Robinson.
I think you'll see a price decrease
Oh,
when it comes
huge.
to Trey Kell.
Yeah.
But I honestly think you could see those two prices swap, to be completely honest. I think that
Mm,
you could see Tyler Harvey there in the 300s. And he's somebody I've sort of got penciled. I can't afford, like, I'm looking at somebody like Kendrick Davis that we're just about to
yeah.
chat to. With my current roster construction, I can't afford to go instead of Kendrick Davis, the schedule's not as good as Tyler Harvey to start the year. I can't
Mm.
just get that. I don't have that extra 10K, and I'm not wanting to go from somebody super premium as well down to Harvey. I'm just going to forego him the first week, but if he looks good, he'll be in my roster week 2.
Yeah. 100%. I've been playing around whether I go with Harvey over Illy or Harvey over Davis. It's very viable. I'm torn. But yeah, look, the more I think about it and some of these matchups, Harvey's going to be a stud.
Yep. So I suppose we're really excited about Harvey. We're excited about Days, and look, Ulbrich is a lock. If
Mm,
Froling was cheaper, then I see some people in the chat talking about Froling.
mm,
If Froling was cheaper, I'd be all in. It's just 350K
mm.
early on
Eh,
in the year in centers. I'm just going to spend it elsewhere.
Yeah. I think we can get similar, if not better, production dropping down to that 270 mark or lower.
Mate, Adelaide versus Sydney. Montrezl Harrell in
Mhm.
the league. Jarrell Martin out for the next, say, 4 to 6 weeks, say 3 to 5 weeks, I suppose now, since that's coming out.
Mm.
Adelaide, they've changed coaches, much to my dismay. Um, what do you see coming out of Adelaide?
Let's just first touch on the amount of chains and bling Trez was wearing when he got off the plane.
Oh,
I think that's compressed his spine. He was probably 6'7" when he got on. He's probably 6'5" now that he's landed in Adelaide.
how did he get
Uh,
that through security? Like, I can't even get through with a spray can of deodorant, and that guy gets through with all the gold in emerald.
he's importing something. Hey, look, Adelaide is one we've talked about. Kendrick Davis, we've been high on. Um, we've always got Jarrell Martin out. Isaac Humphries is there. DJ Vasiljevic. The one we've been talking about and mulling over for the last few weeks is that 3 spot. We've got Nick Marshall, we've got Lat May, and we've got Sunday Detch. That's something I'm interested to see how it plays out leading into rounds 3 and 4 when Adelaide hit the doubles. Um, Look, I think Kendrick Davis, as much as we love him, I don't think this is a great matchup, and this is why I may go to Harvey. Um, Look, this Sydney team is a defensive monster. We've seen them keep New Zealand to about 12 points in a bag of boiled lollies in some of those preseason games. They're deep. Uh, some of these guys are sort of filling the league out for the first time. Trez hasn't even played a game with a team.
For a
I think it's
year.
going to be a tough night.
He hasn't
Jalen
played a
Adams is
game
going to
of
want to say,
basketball
welcome
for
to the
over a
league.
year.
Mm. Yeah. How do you see the matchup between Davis and Jalen Adams?
I mean, I hope they guard each other because I think there'll be a lot of points scored.
Yeah.
But I actually see them putting defensive guards on each of them at the other thing and trying to hide Davis and hide Adams in defense a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't see them defending each other, although that would be elite areas.
Yeah. Although, look, if it's not Jalen Adams, think about what they're going to throw at him. You've got Bull Quoll, you've got Isaiah Liafa, you've got Sean Bruce. There are
Hmm.
no shortage of defensive stoppers. It's no mistake, it's not going to be an easy night at the office for Kendrick Davis.
If you're getting Kendrick Davis, it's not for this week. It's because you don't want to burn a trade in week 2.
Yeah.
Um, This Sydney team, like you just rattled off a heap of really good names that aren't even Supercoach relevant. But you
Yeah.
start at the center, and you've got, um, I mean, you've got
Pepe?
Jalen Galloway. Well, yeah, Lepepe. You start, and you've got Cam Olivers, you've got Xavier Cooks, you've got just this monster team. Like you've got, I just can't even start with these guys and wonder where all the points are going to come from and
Yeah.
whether they're just going to be up by 40 points early and rack it up.
Yeah. And that's it. We haven't seen them actually put together a full squad throughout the entire preseason. There's always been someone missing. Um, we've talked at length about so many mouths to feed, and we're avoiding most of them. The one that's sitting in my squad, and we've both talked about a bit, is Cam Oliver. I feel like even coming off the bench, his points per minute is sky high. I really like this matchup for him. We talked about why it's not a good matchup for X before, but Trez and Isaac Humphries, these guys like to stay home. They're not comfortable out at the 3-point line. Cam Oliver has been lighting it up from long range this preseason. He's not afraid to let the three ball fly. He can put it on the floor. He can play inside out. I think he can take advantage of that and play wherever he wants to on the floor.
Yeah, I think he can too. And what I saw from Cam Oliver in the Blitz was really just showing me that you can do it from the bench. Like,
Yep.
regardless of if you start, you might get some weaker matchups and be able to rack up that PPM. Look, I think Cooks is a great player. I don't like the early matchup. I don't really like the early schedule, and I don't like the price.
Mm.
Um, Look, Adams could score really well, but again, we're talking 390K. Like, I'm just going Cotton
Right.
or Derek Walton Jr. Like, you could talk yourself into Adams, but Derek
I
Walton
couldn't,
Jr. is exactly the same.
but better.
Yeah, basically.
Mm. I think the difference you get with Derek Walton Jr. is he's pass first, and then he picks his moments and he scores. Whereas Jalen Adams is, I'm looking for mine, and if I get stopped, I'm gonna be up in the air and hopefully find someone to get an accidental assist.
Yep.
And the assists in this game are obviously worth a lot more. He led the league the last time he was in Sydney, 6.5 or so assists a game. He is surrounded by shooters down there. I see Derek Walton Jr. as somewhat value at that 350 mark, whereas I think Jalen Adams is way overpriced right now. He's going to have a reduced role, and having so much talent around him, I don't think the assists are going to flow quite as easily.
No, I am with you there. Mate, that takes us through the matchups. Should we have a little bit of a chat about the most owned players in the league? And again, this is brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. If your interest rates are above 6.2%, he can help you out with a home loan. He can help you refinance your house. Honestly, I had a loan, I have a house, and he helped me save $350 a month just by asking him to have a quick look at it. Look, Ryan's a great super coacher himself. He's been in my DMs. He builds his own NBL teams. He's better at Supercoach than he is at golf. He's garbage at golf, I tell you what. But I'm playing against him in a couple of weeks, to be honest. So I can't wait for him to bring that up.
Could he
But
help you out with that V-neck?
do you like it? It's flamingos. It's
Very,
festive.
it's very metrosexual. Are you getting ready for Pride Round?
Yeah, look, I'm excited for it. I was wearing the hat. I am excited. I am all about it. Hoops Fest, it's all happening here at Insight. We don't discriminate. But mate, if you talk about the most owned players, and I'm seeing a few of them that I have in my team and a few that I don't. We don't want to go too far because we've probably chatted about a lot of them. But maybe a quick thumbs up and thumbs down, and if you've got anything to say about it. Lockie Aldrich is 47.4% owned. Your thumbs up on Lockie?
Yeah, high on Lockie. We've discussed this one to death. He's a lock.
Absolutely. And the second guy is the guy that I actually thought would be the highest owned player of the round, and that is Jack White. 45% owned, 230K. I actually see no reason not to own him. We're talking about great matchups. We're talking about great draw. We're talking about great price. We're talking about a guy that has had a lot of experience since last time we saw him in the league. Is there 54% of fans that just hate Melbourne United so much that they won't own one of them?
Look, it's got to be personal because if you're actually playing the game properly, you'd own the bloke. He's essentially at worst a new import, 277K at a 40 grand discount.
Mate, the next one is a dual position player, forward guard, 69K. I know he's featured in your team. I know that you said if this guy hits above 150K this year, you are going to buy and purchase and wear a Ben Henschel jersey on every show. Mate, Ben Henschel, 69K, 44% owned. Can you get around it?
I am around it. Yeah, he's in my squad. Look, I think it's just the price and a little bit of optimism, a little bit of hope that he delivers on some of the potential that he's shown throughout the whole of preseason. We remember last year the reason we got on him was because he popped out in round one, I think it was, with 24 actual points. We thought this is the second coming of Paddy Mills, but never eventuated. But I think it never eventuated because of John Rillie, not because of Ben Henschel.
Yeah, but the issue is John Riley's still there.
That's true, for another 3 years.
Yeah. But look, we're going to go through at least the top 10, maybe touch in a little bit, and there's not any other 69K guys. So, like, if McCoy, in a perfect world that McCoy decided to abstain from alcohol, then maybe he would make this list. But there's really no other bottom dollar guys, and I find in other years that there has been those cheap guys that I see a bigger pathway towards getting there. I don't even see a huge Ben Henschel pathway, to be completely honest. I just see a guy that might score 6 points, and if they're pumping teams by 40, he might play 15 minutes.
Yeah. Like you always say, sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save or whatever you're saying is.
Yeah.
I think just the 69K price tag just fits into the structure of trying to have a competitive roster on your squad. You know, you got to put someone in at that price. He's the best of a bad bunch.
I'm actually going to shout out that Ben Potential.
I like that.
Absolutely huge. I might get that one on the online store, to be completely honest. Speaking about it's not what you spend, it's what you save. Rocco Zikarsky, 95K. A big name in the NBL. A next star in his second year in the league. That's why he's not 69K. They've moved on from Aaron Baines. There's a pathway to him to at least being the number 2 center. And if there is an injury, he could push his way to maybe closer to 20 minutes per night if Tui Smith-Milner would leave town. But 95K, I can get around it. I just can't get around me being more excited about the other center in town.
Yeah, and that's what it's come down to. You can't own Harrison and Zikarsky. His ownership has, since the game opened, where he was the most owned, it's come down a bit. But remember, we talked about this on the last pod, you've got 3 weeks to have a good look. And if you want to lock in a price rise when you see a break even of negative, whatever it is, jump on then. But I don't think you need to own him day one. Although, with that matchup in New Zealand and some other favourable games, if that 95K is what you need at your backup centre to get what you need on your court, not the worst option.
I don't hate it. He's the only one in the top 5 that doesn't have a little tag beside it. Cam Oliver, 277K, 36% owned, had an unreal blitz. And look, Xavier Cooks was right up there in ownership, and I think people have sort of started to catch on that maybe he's not the answer, despite having that stint in Washington, despite almost making the Olympic team. Cam Oliver's sort of proven that through the bench he can score elite. Hopefully that's not just a blitz flash, but at 277K, it's easy to pivot elsewhere if you are wrong.
And the dual position gives a lot of flexibility. That's what I'm really liking about him. I'm also playing with a a squad at the moment where I've moved him to the bench. So
Okay.
we'll see. I like it. I've got him in my squad.
Bryce Cotton, 448K. I can get around adding the best player in the comp. I did see a question a bit earlier, and now's probably the time to bring it up. Is Cotton injured? He's had some concerns with a finger, but shouldn't impact his play. It was a thumb, I believe, but shouldn't impact his play. He played through it at the Blitz. He should be right to go. I'm not an owner. I've had some builds where I did get around him. Look, the concern that maybe there is a little bit less scoring from Cotton due to a small injury was probably enough to scare me off. I probably wouldn't have done it anyway, but like you know how you're crossing the road and at the middle of the night and you're just looking for an excuse for something to scare you off it. The thumb was enough.
Yeah. Yeah, look, if you bring him in, you bring him in because you need a captain option. You're not spending 450K to not captain him. I feel like we've got enough captain options elsewhere that it's not must own. Um, but yeah, I early on sort of decided I wasn't going to go with the Cotton build.
I do like the matchup against Southeast Melbourne, though, to be honest.
Do you? Who do you think who's gonna take Cotton?
I mean, Sobey's not an elite defender, and neither is Derek Walton Jr.
No. But
They're
then
probably just going to throw some guys at him.
they got the Flying Toilets main man there, Matt Kenyon. They've got Ben
Yeah.
Eyre. They've got a lot of looks they can throw him off the bench as well. And a lot of teams in the past have had some success putting bigger guards on him to take away his vision and whatnot. Maybe Wisecamp's a sneaky defender. Who knows? Look, the pace is going to be up there. I see him scoring well. But like you said, I'm talking myself out of it now.
Yeah. Xavier Cooks, 365K. You called him Phil's Gold, 30% owned. Just too
30.
expensive. In a better world where he was 277K, I could talk myself into it, but at 365, it's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, I'm out.
Will Hickey, number 8, 106K. I feel like this should be higher. I feel like Lockie Aldrich has been getting a lot of. I think he's a better buy than Lockie Aldrich. There, I'll go ahead and say it at 29% owned and Lockie Aldrich being 47% owned. Yeah, look, I do think because I've struggled in my guards to get anybody of value. In forwards, I'm just seeing a bit more. I could get there. Will Hickey could be more than Lockie Aldrich.
I don't hate it. I think they're both going to be good. I think that it's a 7-man rotation in my eyes, possibly 8. And the two guys come off the bench are going to be Hickey and Aldrich. You're essentially going to split the guard minutes between 3. Your 2 imports
Yep.
and him. Same at the forward position. I don't see any reason not to have him in your squad. I'm really high. And we went through before with our crystal ball that he's my biggest cash cow for this year.
Yep, no, I like that one. Casey Prather, 139K. I have played around with it. No, it's like Josh Bannon's not going to be there to start the year. I haven't heard any new. No, he's not going to be there.
Oh, when did that come? I thought he was back round 1.
Oh, I hope so. I have heard absolutely nothing. Like read the local rag, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought that the injury, he was slated to come back round 1. We probably need to get confirmation on that. But look, Casey Prather is my new ick.
Watch him score 25 in the first game, and you have to own him in round 3.
Yeah, and we watched Ben Henschel score 24 in the first round last year and see how that happened.
Casey Prather is an import. He is an ex-MVP. Ben Henschel might have been an ex-MVP at the same time in under 12s. So, Kendrick Davis, 277K, 21% owned. It's probably just that the first matchup is not that good for him. I think a lot of people are just playing the wait-and-see approach with Kendrick Davis.
Yeah, look, that's definitely viable. We've been high on him. I'm starting to fade him. I've still got him, but you've talked me into Harvey. Kendrick Davis will be a stud. The issue with him has been the doubles don't come till rounds 2 and 3. So, sorry, 3 and 4. That's when you need to get on him. You've got a chance to have a look, and if you can get someone a bit earlier and have those trades up your sleeve to bring him in and pivot towards that next squad, happy days. The only concern I have then with Harvey in my squad is that I've got Harvey, Days, Olbrich, Hickey. I've got pretty much all the Hawks, which I need to pivot off after round 2.
Yeah, and that's going to turn into a boost pretty quickly if you've got that many. I don't want to delve too far, but you start to look a bit further down the list, and we've been super high on Tyrell Harrison, and I have to go all the way down to the 26th owned player to see Tyrell Harrison. I think that's schedule related, and he is a super pod friend and fan of the show. After all the talking up we've had from him, it's just some interesting ones that I start to see later on, like your Tyler Harvey's the 27th owned, Darius Day's the 29th owned. I expected everyone to add Montrezl Harrell, and he's the 30th owned at 6.6%. So, yeah, I kind of thought that some of these guys, people would jump on a bit quicker.
Yeah. But I think also everyone being on a single, it spreads it out a bit. In previous years, we've had some pretty stacked schedules where certain teams have been on doubles from day one. Like, Melbourne last year had like first 6 rounds of doubles because of having to be out of the tennis centre or something. It just spreads the field a bit, and I think it's a good schedule to have some real variety amongst teams.
No, that's huge. Mate, look, we're going to have a chat about captains and get into these questions. I know we've been trying to keep these to an hour, but it makes sense, to be honest, that the first one was never going to be an hour long. But, mate, you've been super excited and driving our community team through our Discord, through our Patreon. We've elected to do it on our Discord in the end, just due to 1,000 people being on, being able to vote, just being able to reach more people. And let us know what's sort of been happening with the community team and what you foresee it. It was a top 150 team last year. These guys in the chat were the stream team here were elite when it came to the community team.
Huge. Yeah, community's awesome. Get around it. Make sure you get in there though, and like have your say though. We put up lots of little polls, vote on it. Look, with that big a brains trust, we're bound to finish. What did we finish last year? Top 150?
Yeah, top 150. I think it was 138 or something at the end of the year, which is huge. It did teach me a few things, like sometimes the obvious choice is the right choice. You know how you start to get a little bit spicy with some picks. Spicy. Yeah, you get some spicy with some picks at some stages, but like sometimes, like when you have 50 people voting, the consensus is the right answer is probably what it taught me.
That's good.
Mate, our Discord is in the link tree below. You can pop in, have your vote, get involved. It's actually just good chat every week. And sometimes if you're worried about what you're going to do with your team, not only you get our opinion on the show, you can start to get lots of other Supercoach players, lots of other Supercoach champions that just hop on there and let people know what's going on. Let's head into the captains.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I was slightly disappointed. I was waiting for the old captain, my captain. This is fresh.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that had changed. We did that with the NRL this year, so there we go. Mate, of course it depends on who you've got in your team, but we're really seeing Bryce Cotton 30% captained, which takes the captain by a country mile. We're seeing Bryce Cotton and we're seeing Xavier Cooks. I wonder if they have the brother one for that one, because I'm not about that one. We're seeing Cam Oliver 277k there as well. You've spruiked that as a good matchup, but what are your captains that you would be willing to target with this week?
Look, if you're owning Cotton, you're owning him to captain him. He's a very, very solid pick. I'd probably give it an A. We talked about both Perth and Southeast Melbourne through the Blitz being some of the most super coach friendly squads out. The pace of play, being at home in Perth, he always scores better. I like it. Derek Walton Jr., if you've paid up for him, I'd probably give it a B. Look, like we said, 2 high scoring teams. He's got the keys on that squad. We've had concerns about how him and Sobey will play together. But look, so far he's in very limited minutes. He's only sort of played 15 minutes each game. He's been hyper productive. The other ones we're probably looking at, Jack White. What are your thoughts there?
I do like it. I'm just worried they're going to pump
Yeah.
Tasmania by so much that he comes off.
Mhm.
I do really like the matchup. Like, you stack him up, and yeah, I like Jack White. I really like Derek Walton Jr. as well.
Mhm.
I just think both these teams are going to score well. I think Bryce Cotton's going to score well. I think Derek Walton Jr. is going to score well. Another one I'm looking at, and it's 0.6% captained, has been Tyrell Harrison. I just can't get over the fact that Freddie Gillespie is out. Brisbane are playing. The only concern is if New Zealand goes small ball and say Bannon does play, and they start to play like a Bannon at centre to combat New Zealand because Harrison can't handle them out on the perimeter or Rocco can't handle them out on the perimeter.
Yeah.
That's my only concern. I've had the C on Tyrell all week.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I've got him as my captain choice at the moment. I think we're bringing him in as a pod. We may as well double that pod by putting the C next to his name. The Gillespie thing, like you said, though, that matchup can work 2 ways. Do you, when they go small ball, try and have him cover the perimeter? Who have they got? They play Bolden. He's not the greatest 3-point shooter. They play Andasevich. Dane Pinot couldn't hit the backside of a barn. They really are thin up front. Alternatively, you just stay big and you just keep pumping it inside and you say, we'll give up something on that end and we're going to keep going to the well until it dries up down here. I'm still high on it. The other ones we looked at were Darius Days and Cam Oliver. Any thoughts there?
I really like the Darius Days matchup, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Cam Oliver, I'm a little bit scared that it's
Yeah.
one of these situations where he was great during the Blitz and it was just working his way back into the team. And, your Cooks and everything do go fantastic. And, the 36% of Supercoach owners that own Cooks are correct. I'm not one of those players. I won't be a Cooks owner until he drops in price a little bit. But I just start to think that maybe these people are right and Cam Oliver is just a dude out there. But I'm just not willing to double down with the captain. I'm willing to have Cam Oliver in my team, but I'm not confident enough to captain him.
Yeah. And we didn't see a true sample of what that squad's going to look like at the Blitz. We know that Xavier Cooks didn't play some games, and in the games he did play, he played 15 minutes or so. We know that the point guard, Jalen Adams, didn't play a lot. So what Cam Oliver's role looks like, whether he keeps coming off the bench for Kelly LePepe, I don't know. High risk, high return, but I'm not willing to risk the captain on it, especially for a guy come off the bench. So, look, if I was going to rank these in order, probably not even rank them. It's a bit hard when everyone's got different people in their squads, but probably my top picks will be Cotton, Walton Jr., White, Harrison, Days.
No, I'm very similar, to be completely honest. Mate, let's head into question time.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
Mate, we've got Brano here, coach, head of our BBL, head of our NRL show, gets involved in NBL, of course, part of the Supercoach World Cup, an initiative that we've got, which you have to perform at every sport. I really let it go by finishing about in the top 60th percent in AFL due to watching about 12 minutes of the Brisbane Lions this year. But Brano's got Harrison or Days. If he had to make the decision, what would you be doing?
This is a bit of a tough one because it probably depends on what else you've got around those guys. One's a forward and one's a centre. They're not eligible to play the spot. So, if you've got a genuine centre and you don't want to go to the Harrison because it is a pod, right? It's not for everyone. I really like Days. I think it's a safer pick. But also at forward, you've got better options. You've got your Cam Olivers. You've got your Jack Whites. You can play Sam Froling down there. You can play. There's a heap of people. Will Magnay. Center's a little bit thinner unless you're playing those dual guys up. If you look at people who are just center, the ones we're looking at are Marcus Lee, which we don't really want to look at, and Harrison. There's not too many other just centers. So, look, depending on what you got around it, it probably doesn't really answer your question much, but that's where I'd be sitting on it.
I think I would go Harrison due to saving a few dollars. I think it's easy to go to Days in week 2. Despite really liking the matchup. But that's as long as you have another playable, like really playable center. Like you've got Cam Oliver down there at center, then I'm perfectly fine with you having Days there. But if you have to play Cam Oliver on the bench because you've got Harrison, then just play Cam Oliver and get Days up there and make sure that all these guys are playable. I suppose all I'm saying is if one of these guys have to be on the bench, then make sure that you get Days out there and, have playable guys because you're not going to be able to play Harrison every week due to the shit schedule.
Yeah, agreed.
The Book of Psalms is asking if I won MVP of my basketball league this year. I tell you what, I got on a run, and I had we keep all our stats in there in Glory League. I had like 32 assists in like 5 games, so I was on a roll. But I broke my finger the last game of the regular season, and I'm not saying that's why we got bounced out.
Now you think you're Bryce Cotton because you're out with a finger injury.
Yeah, exactly. It was that one. Have a look how crooked it is. I tell you what, it is rough. But look, I had a really good year. We all got around each other in the C grade Mother Lickers team. Yeah, look, didn't win the MVP. I'd say if we made finals, I still wouldn't have. So sounds good.
Inspirational.
Rank the top 5 imports. I'm going to start with Kendrick Davis, head into Kemi Oliver. I really like Joey Wisekamp, Matt Hurt, and who am I going to get spicy with my 5th? I'd say you might even be looking at somebody like a Bateman or or somebody like that if the schedule allowed. A Montrezl Harrell in there at 277K.
You only talking new imports? Because I think you should probably talk about Cotton and PJC and.
No? Yeah, maybe. I think I was working on new imports because he said 2. I was just thinking 277K in my head, but
all right. Look,
yeah, I mean, Cotton is an import. He's an Australian resident now.
Finally, after we don't need him.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you reckon?
Look, are we going new or all imports?
Oh, you go all imports. We'll give him some change.
I'm going to go all imports right now. I'm going with Cotton and PJC. Doyle. I'll throw a few newies in there. Kendrick Davis, Darius Days. That's probably my top list.
I forgot about Days. I didn't have a list in front of me. I was just rattling them off. But mate, Global back again for the second season. He's looking at Pedro. Dual position player, good starting fixture, and spreads he's scoring across all lines of the ways of Supercoach points. What do you think of Bradshaw or Pedro? Surely we're calling him Pedro at this stage. What do you think? He's a super pod. I'm going to actually have a look. While you answer, I'm going to have a look at how well owned.
I think the real question is, would you vote for Pedro? Look, I like him. I don't love him. The dual position is really attractive, though. Gives you a lot of flexibility if you've got that second dual on your squad at guard. Comes round 3 and 4 when Cairns start get on that good run. He's going to be pretty valuable. He's been loose with the ball. His turnovers are there, but he's one of those guys similar to a Taj McCall who can contribute across a lot of different stat categories. He's going to be relied upon to carry a hell of a lot of a load because I think Rob Edwards is going to slide to the point guard position. He's going to be handling the rock. The ball's probably not going
Yeah,
to zing around as much as it would with Armstrong, so maybe that detracts from everyone else. But look, someone needs to score the ball for that team, and Pedro's been brought in to do that.
he's 3.7% owned too. I really struggled. I wanted more guard forward. I wanted one more guard forward so
Mm.
that I could interchange my team around.
Yeah,
I couldn't find one.
there's not many.
I understand. Yeah, I understand the flexibility around getting Pedro. I'm personally just going to have a look. I think it's a good pick. I think if we were starting on two doubles from Cairns, I would have a really good look. But the way that the schedule is, I'm not going to start with. I'm not going to vote for Pedro in this one.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Willie Magnay, give me a sec. Julian Anesse is asking if Magnay is a good pick.
Yeah, look, Magnay, I think he's in for a big year. He looked pretty good at that international tournament. He looked phenomenal in that Boomers campaign. He was great towards the back end of last season. He's an incredibly high points per minute guy. Due to the minute share that he had with Marcus Lee last year and working back from injury, his price is probably somewhat deflated. I'm expecting at least a 30% uptick in minutes because there really is no backup for him. Uh, he's going to be huge. It's just the schedule. It's a lot of cash to start with. Week one, maybe have a crack at it, but you need an exit strategy because the JJ's schedule is just so sporadic. They have very, very few runs of doubles. You'd be bringing him in and out and in and out, and to hold him on the bench when they're not on doubles is going to be a tough ask at 300 and however many K he comes in at. It's a bit of a rough one. But yeah, look, Magnay is an interesting one. I had him in the end of last season, and he really, really had some massive games. And it doesn't take him much with a few blocks and a few rebounds to get up there. Moving on to the next chat, guys. Where's the next one, Matrix?
Struggling to hear you due to my headphones disconnecting. So can we get the next question up from Matt Ledbetter that's asked if Hammer's got a license for those guns?
Look, these are completely unlicensed. Do we have any female viewers? Aside from both of our wives who pretend they watch us?
I still can't hear you. Keep talking.
Unbelievable. You and your technical issues.
Oh, mate,
Um,
that was the best piss of my life. I can hear you again now.
Thank God for that.
Mate, we've really got to get you on to being able to click some of these. If you had to pick between Magnay and Lepepe or Harrison and Almanza, what side? A or side B?
This is tough because both options have a pretty horrible schedule in them. Magnay and Harrison, I think you could take your pick with either of them. I think Harrison's going to be more of a cash cow, just being that cheaper price point. Lepepe has started in Sydney. Almanza's definitely got the higher ceiling and the better player there. I'm actually on the fence here. Both of them seem pretty. I'd go Harrison Almanza.
Me too. I think Almanza's going to score out Lepepe, but I do think Magnay's going to outscore Harrison. But where the excitement for me comes about Tyrell Harrison is he becomes a cash cow and somebody I think that can score a lot of points. Even scoring 8-10 less points than Will Magnay every night. Harrison's still a better buy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's probably what you do with the extra 100K as to whether it's worth it. But as you see these players marinate and start to go up in cash, and I tell you what, I'm telling you about my barbecuing at the moment. But when you open that roast and you're in round 20 and you're top 3 or 400, oh, I tell you what, it's due to having Harrison and not Magnay to start the year.
Yeah, the 100K is the difference there for me. You can hold Harrison at 230K on your bench if you know at a push. I don't think you can hold Magnay at his 300 whatever K on your bench.
Can you start Ulbrich on a double? Is what Global's asking. His double over Harrison on a single. This is a really good question, and the answer is no.
I think that what you've got here is Aldridge on a dual position eligibility. You need to have someone in your forwards, whether it's Cam Oliver or a Sam Froling, something like that, where you can sort of massage and do that three-way shuffle to make sure you've got playable guys on your double.
Yep. I just love it when you say three-way shuffle.
I like it.
The sports guy's asking, is Harrison a good pick for a captain? We touched on it, and at 0.6% captained, I would probably advise against it. But I'm tempted to do it myself. I just really think it could be a massive leg up if Cam Oliver doesn't fire, which I see a pathway where he doesn't. The
Mm,
problem is I'm not sure I can see him outscoring a Cotton. I can't see him outscoring a Derek Walton Jr. in week one. But yeah, Harrison is a good pick for captain, but I just wonder if you're potting it. Oh, mate, oh, I want to captain him so bad as a Brisbane fan. But as I sit back here and get to it, I just think that Derek Walton Jr. and Cotton are better captains.
yeah, but we don't own either of them in our squad, so you got to look
Yep.
elsewhere.
Yeah. Do we rate Parker Jackson? Luke, as a party's asking. And
Mm.
yes, we do. Why you probably haven't heard us mentioning Parker Jackson Cartwright is the schedule, mate. What can you tell us about New Zealand's schedule?
Yeah, look, as good as Parker Jackson Cartwright is, the schedule is equally as bad. So they're on a single like everyone round one, a single round two, and then they go overseas for the NBL cross NBA games. 2 buys in a row. It's not until I think it's round 5 they come back, and then their schedule gets good. So we're not even going to see a price rise until round 5 from any of the breakers, which means that they're pretty much a super coach wasteland for the first 4 rounds at least.
Yeah, and that's when they become super relevant.
Yeah.
You've been like, I'm trying not to get into this thing where we just plug the Patreon all the time, but you did a really good article on the Patreon about when to boost.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, one of the times I'm looking to boost is when when New Zealand go into all these doubles, because I
Yeah.
see some value in these New Zealand players. And yes, I love Parker Jackson Cartwright. I love the cash cow that is Mitch McCarron. I love a lot. I love maybe a center that is serviceable if Jonah Bolden plays well, but we have a chance to have a look, and we don't need to talk about Parker Jackson Cartwright honestly for 4 weeks.
Yeah. 100%. Irrelevant to week 4, 5.
Sports guys also looking at, Froling maybe as a captain. Or, he was the guy that was mentioning Harrison earlier. And then on the flip side, asking if he should start Froling or Cooks.
Right.
What do you think here?
Look, start with that one. 100% start Froling over Cooks. Don't touch Cooks. Froling has that starting spot locked down. They rely on him. Tatum, as a coach, plays old school. They go inside out. They pump the ball inside, look to score, and if not, then they're going to kick it out to shooters like Harvey. It worked a treat for him last year. Rolling's due for a big season. He's been solid. He's been knocking at this ceiling. And I think he's going to break through it this year. I think the guys around him are going to unlock him. And look, some of the matchups early on, like who in Cairns is going to stop Rolling? You've got, the lumberjack.
Oh,
He's strong, but he's definitely a lot smaller. I don't see anyone stopping Froling.
he's chopped wood bigger than Froling. I'll tell you that for free.
Thank you.
Zanetti, back again, is asking whether Lowe, that's Rob Lowe, Marcus Lee, or Tyrell Harrison. He wants Rocco and possibly Prather. Does he scrap Tyrell? Is this too many bullets? And cheers, lads.
Yeah, well, you being the Bullets expert, you take this one.
Yeah, look, the draw's horrendous for the Bullets. They don't have a double till. I'm going out on a limb and saying
9.
round 9, which is awful. I only have Tyrell because I consider him that cash cow that can generate points. Rocco is a genuine cash cow. I understand why you want Rocco. There's a lot of question marks about Prather. Were the schedule permitting, I 100% would be looking at Prather, but it's not. So you have to choose between Rocco and Tyrell because they're both just centers. Now, once you choose one of these guys, Lowe and Marcus Lee is exactly the same thing. I'm leaning towards Marcus Lee. I think that maybe Rob Lowe at 39 years old, this was just them giving him a run in the blitz, and he does spread the floor better than Marcus Lee. I see Lowe maybe playing 16 minutes per night, maybe 20 minutes per night for Marcus Lee. While I'm not expecting it to be elite, I would go Marcus Lee and maybe a Rocco, or Marcus Lee and Tyrell.
You say Marcus Lee's going to play, 20 minutes a night? That's what he played in Tassie last year. And would you have touched him there?
Yeah, I think I did actually. I think I did own him. I don't know, like maybe we're all getting fascinated in Marcus Lee, and he was one of the first we added, and we sort of tapered off. I'm sort of hoping that if they're playing the same way that they're playing, Rob Lowe isn't going to allow for a Joe Luala-Chul or somebody like that.
Mhm.
Marcus Lee, get out there, get your boards, play a secondary, not a score first role. I just think he will get his. And we've only seen preseason so far. Look, I'm still leaning towards Lee. I know that you're not high on that, but yeah, look, let's just see how it goes. But as far as it goes, you could go a Lee or a Tyrell or a Lee and a Rocco. I wouldn't be going low, but at least if you start with the most expensive player, if you are wrong, it's easy to go from Marcus Lee to a low or to somebody a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, for sure.
The next question is Supercoach Boz here. Are we wanting to spend all out dollars, or is it okay to have 50 or 70K in the kitty as a safety net with all these 277K guys that present value?
Yeah, look, this is a good question. I've in the past, I've tried to pretty much spend every dollar I've got to try and put the best squad possible on the floor. And I've found myself with a few builds this year with 40, 50K left over. Is that something where it's an advantage come week 2 if you haven't got some of these premium guys like Cotton, like Derek Walton Jr., having that little extra bit left over to then pay up to that next tier of guy when the schedule gets good?
Look, the issue is if we're talking about, say, a Kendrick Davis over a Derek Walton Jr. in this scenario.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think in week 1 this season,
Yeah.
I would be fine with having Kendrick Davis and putting the captain on him. Had he not be playing Sydney round 1, I like the matchup with Derek Walton Jr. I like the matchup with Bryce Cotton a lot more. I sort of considered all these guys, despite the price disparity of almost 200K, to be similar value. I'm not okay with captaining Kendrick Davis. I'm struggling to even keep Kendrick Davis in my team just looking at this matchup.
Yeah. Look, I reckon Boz is onto something here. Keeping a bit of extra money in the kitty to be able to pay up later. Look, everyone's on a single, so if you're wrong and you didn't pay up, you're only, out on one game, not 2 games. So I think if you're going to do it, this is the year to do it. And I think those dollars are going to come in handy because as these teams move on to doubles the next week and you've got that next pivot point in rounds 3 and 4, you're going to want a little extra in your bank, especially when you've got those teams that are playing single, single, single and haven't had the price rises.
Mate, let's have a chat about Kelly LePepe, the best name in the league. What do you think about having him in his squad? NFL Maverick is host of our NFL show on their Insight Fantasy Sports channel. Will pop on. He's put his hand up as the backup if one of us is ill.
If you're in Cairns, he'd be on the court right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But
what do you think about LePepe?
Look, if we were playing NRL Supercoach, he'd probably be my first pick. But right now, 69K.
Because he can tackle?
Oh, he just looks like he's an NRL player. 69K, cheap. Same way we talked about Ben Henschel. He's going to fit the structure of your squad. When we're looking at 69K guys, we just want them to hit the court and hit their break even. We don't want to lose money. I think he's got a role there. He's started every preseason game. He's not going to set the world on fire. He's a role player, but he can step out and hit the 3. He gets a few rebounds, the odd assist. I think he covers the 6 break even. I don't think he's going to be a real cash cow, but I think he'll go up a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he sits around that 90,000, 100,000 mark for the season.
Yeah. I don't mind it. I think it's what you do with the extra money.
Yeah.
That is that for me. Mate, we're approaching 1.5 hours, which we said we weren't going to do
Marathon.
too much. But if anyone, it's the biggest show of the year. It's this one.
Huge.
But Rob's Punk, he's been in the chat, just absolutely loves everything that is all Hammer. But our unlimited league is 202-868. We've got 130 people watching at the moment. I actually have 4 more spots in our $100 Supercoach league. So pop into my DMs. My phone's been vibrating a little bit, so that might be a few less spots. But that's the last of our. We filled a couple of $25 leagues. We filled a $50 league. We've got our $100 league. So yeah, if you really want to take us on, DM us and get into that on Twitter or Instagram. I'm just going to pick out a couple more and then we'll rack off. Rod Todd is asking, would you say McCoy is a must-have at his price?
Not right now.
You can't hold a guy in this format of Supercoach. And I'm not going to crucify you. I see the Western Bulldogs as your logo. And in AFL Supercoach, you can just hold a guy that's not playing on the bench. And McCoy would have been probably my first added had he not got done for that DUI. And he's not playing the first 2 weeks of the season. He's an easy downgrade option later on. Just find a way to not have McCoy. And if Taron Armstrong's out for longer than anticipated, just get him later on.
Yeah, you're right. The same thing we talked about Henshaw and Lepepe. These cheaper guys who are going to play. McCoy will play there. He's the backup point guard. You can't have Armstrong playing 40 minutes a game. He's not Bryce Cotton. He has an injury history. And every time they've said he's out 2 weeks, it's turned out to be 4 weeks. So, look, I reckon McCoy could be a downgrade at some point, especially when you're starting to pivot and bring in some bigger guys.
Mate, 2 more. Jaden Cam, is it worth starting Cotton and then trading him out after round 1 to somebody with better fixtures, then bringing him back later on in the season when his price drops and Perth's fixtures get better?
Do you want to take this? Or you want me to?
You can.
I think it's doable as long as you're not tying up too many trades. The advantage of taking Cotton out after week 1 is you can afford any player in the competition. He's the most expensive guy. It's going to free up a whole heap of cash. But by bringing him in, has the rest of your squad suffered to the point that you don't have enough trades to make a playable roster in week 2? That's kind of what I found every time I play with Cotton. It's just going to hurt you come weeks 2 and 3. A little bit easier with Walton Jr., and he's got that better schedule where he plays the double week 2. So if he's looking for a guy who's potentially similar, that's the way I'd be going. But look, if you want Cotton, you can make it happen. You just got to consider at what cost.
Yeah, if you want Cotton, I think this is the only way to do it. Get him in week 1 and then trade him back out. You're not having 440k playing singles.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just not the way you do it. It's Derek Walton Jr. if you want to hold him. It's like liking Cotton's matchup week 1, which is against Derek Walton Jr., and then going to Derek Walton Jr. week 2, and then having 100k to upgrade somebody later on. That is the appeal for Cotton for me.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. Thoughts on Alex Tui? I only brought him up because he's somebody that we haven't mentioned. Had an elite blitz. Zachary Edwards.
He had some of those NBA scouts just frothing. Hey, I've played with this guy over some of my builds. He's around 190k. It's expensive when you're thinking of a bench option. I don't quite see him as a starter, and I'll tell you why. It's the Sydney logjam of talent. There is just too many mouths to feed. It's a little unpredictable. And as good as his blitz was, this was playing in a squad with very reduced minutes for Xavier Cooks and a lot of games without Jalen Adams playing. Do you want a Tui fun fact?
Yeah.
You know, he's the tallest player on the Kings this year.
Huh. He is
205
really
centimeters.
tall.
That's how short they are.
Yeah, right. Maybe
Hmm.
we could see some small ball with him at center.
Perhaps. Yeah, look, Alex Tui, I think he's going to be a stud, and he has not done himself any disservice at all with his NBA aspirations. But I just see there's a lot of mouths to feed there, and the three spot's probably one where um, it's not as congested as others. But yeah, you could. I don't hate it.
I think it's like Jalen Galloway too. It's somebody. It's a name that we haven't even mentioned in
Yeah.
this podcast, and he was playing for Milwaukee not that long ago. Like, we talk about this extreme talent. We haven't even mentioned a guy coming back from the NBA into this Kings team because they're so stacked. Yeah, it's great. Alex Tui is super talented, but maybe I see him as a little bit of an AJ Johnson this year.
Perhaps.
Look, if he gets taken with the 23rd pick, congratulations to him, but he won't be playing much this year. Mate, that's it. That's
That's it.
preseason done and dusted.
Yeah. Got to kick it out of the nest and see if it flies now.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to get in contact with us, you've got to get onto our Patreon, get involved in the community team in our Discord. If you want to join that last $100 league that I've got going on, get involved. Join our Unlimited League, 202-868. Follow us on Twitter. We're going to be tweeting while the games are on. We've got game day chats in our Discord. Mate, we've got a lot going on at Insight Fantasy Sports. I haven't even mentioned the other sports. But yeah, join our Unlimited League. You can win a standard squeeze pack. Some of these fantastic products over my shoulder every single week. Mate, this is a bit more like you can expect our weekly shows to be, except 30 minutes longer. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, good guys. Make sure you do get in the Discord tonight or tomorrow. Matrix is going to enter our first build for the community team tomorrow. There's a bunch of polls in there. Vote them up, vote them down. Make sure that everyone's had their input because I get more excited about the community team than our own.
I don't quite get that excited, but
Well, when they're doing better than we are, you live vicariously, Matty.
Mate, thank you. We've overstayed our welcome tonight. Good luck in the Supercoach season and go the Bullets. Cheerio.